The next time you walk into your local McDonald's for a snack, it might be worth flashing a smile to the guy behind the counter taking your order, or even to the kid who cleans your table. Who knows? They may grow up to be the richest man in the world. Jeff Bezos, the billionaire entrepreneur, once cooked French fries in the back of a McDonald's. He quit a lucrative job and drove across the United States to start his business. And even when the dot-com bubble was bursting, held on to the belief that his company would prevail and succeed. This is the story of a man who came from humble beginnings, not even knowing his biological father, to now being one of the founding fathers of e-commerce and trying to take humanity to space. His road to becoming one of the wealthiest men alive was a rocky one, and even at the top, Bezos has come under scrutiny for the controversial expansion of his Amazon empire. So sit back and strap in as we take a deep dive into the insane rise of Jeff Bezos. Jeff was born Jeffrey Preston Jorgensen on January 12, 1964, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. His mother was still a junior in high school, only 17 years old, and it's safe to say that the situation was less than ideal for the pair. The young mother was in financial straits, but she calculated that if they pinched pennies, they'd be able to get by. Jeff's mother and biological father, to whom she was married to at the time, ended up going through a divorce, and when she remarried, Jeff took on his stepfather's last name at the age of 4. That's how the iconic name Jeff Bezos came to be. From the age of 4 to the age of 16, Jeff spent his summers on his grandfather's ranch in Cotulla, Texas, and he credits this time spent with his grandfather for teaching him the value of hard work, perseverance, and resourcefulness. He claims that his grandfather's self-reliance inspired that same quality in him, and it sure as hell came in handy during his entrepreneurial career. As he transitioned to his early teens, Jeff began to show an interest in science, and the family's garage became his personal workshop as he tinkered with various inventions, including a custom alarm clock designed to keep his siblings out of his room. He was always academically inclined, being accepted into the gifted program at his elementary school, and in 1982, Jeff became the valedictorian of his high school class. He's even gone so far as to describe himself as nerdy, and there's really no arguing with that. At 16 years old, Bezos secured a job at McDonald's, making just $2.69 an hour. While definitely not the most glamorous of jobs, Jeff claims the experience taught him about the value of specialization in a company. And it's worth noting that even at such a young age, he was paying attention to how the business was run. On graduating high school, the young man managed to secure a spot at the prestigious Princeton University. At first, he majored in physics, but quickly realized that his true calling lay in electrical engineering, and within months had switched majors. Ever the overachiever, Jeff graduated summa cum laude in 1986, with degrees in computer science and electrical engineering. Despite receiving numerous job offers from large companies like Nokia, he opted to take a job with a financial tech startup named Fitel. Unsatisfied with his role there, in 1990 he moved to New York to work at a hedge fund named D.E. Shaw, and it was here that Jeff really started to soak in lessons that would affect his future company. Jeff credits his old boss, Shaw, with teaching him about human resources and recruiting, lessons that he would later apply at the e-commerce giant that Amazon would become. During his time at D.E. Shaw, Jeff made a good living, and he even managed to rise to the position of senior vice president, setting a record for the youngest person to do so at the company. During this period, he also met and married his first wife, Mackenzie Tuttle. At this point in his life, you could argue that Jeff had it all: a prestigious job in the Big Apple, newly married. It wouldn't occur to many people that risking it all was the right move to make. But luckily for those of us who use Amazon, Jeff isn't like other people. In 1994, after being recently promoted and just 1 year into his marriage, Bezos was doing some deep thinking about what he wanted from life. He ended up coining a regret minimization framework, whereby he wanted to make sure that in old age, when he looked back on his life, he had as few regrets as possible. Well, at the same time that he was reaching this conclusion, Jeff was also noticing the emergence of this new thing called the internet, and he decided to come up with a business plan that made sense in the context of its massive growth. The entrepreneur figured that you could sell products online and decided on books because of the diversity of items in that category. There are, of course, millions of different books to supply. Once his mind was made up, he told his wife, who despite all the risks supported his decision, and he promptly quit his job. The pair packed their things and moved to Seattle, and on the drive across the country is when Jeff drew up the first draft of the business plan that would eventually become Amazon. Initially, the company was named Cadaver, but after some mixed reactions from friends, he decided to change it to the iconic name we all know today. The project would need some capital, so Jeff's parents invested the majority of their life savings in his business, a number equating to almost $300,000. They must have really believed in their son, considering the fact that Jeff told them there was a 70% chance that his venture would fail. In 1995, Amazon.com was founded and went live. Things were unorganized and humble in the beginning, with Bezos delivering the books to the post office himself, and his team having to package on the floor due to a lack of tables. Even his wife, who had no experience in the field, had to chip in, as she handled the business accounting for their first year. Despite all the initial difficulties, Amazon was a huge success, as within the first month of going live, the website was flooded with orders for books from all 50 states and more than 45 countries. Jeff himself recalls that they were ill-prepared for how popular the site became, and its initial growth was all simply due to word of mouth. Over the course of the next couple years, Jeff would raise funding and invest it in the business, further fueling its growth. And this, coupled with the rapidly increasing use of computers, made for the perfect storm. Just shy of 3 years after being founded, Amazon made its initial public offering, and to say that it was a success would be an understatement. The IPO raised the company over $54 million, and at 33 years old, officially made Bezos a millionaire. Jeff adopted an approach which was hyper-focused on the customer, and so in a bid to further understand his users, he sent out an email campaign asking what people were interested in buying. When the answers came back in droves and with a variety of items, Jeff realized that he could sell whatever people wanted online. Slowly, new categories were added to the site, and over time, Amazon came to resemble the online marketplace that it is today, rather than the digital bookstore it had originally been. Of course, with increasing products came increasing revenue, and the company's stock price soared almost 1,000% in the course of just 1 year. In the year 1997, Jeff had become a millionaire, and it was only 2 short years later that Forbes featured him in their billionaires list, with a net worth of $10.1 billion. Not a small jump, that's for sure. Despite his newfound massive fortune, Jeff maintained a pretty humble lifestyle, driving an old beat-up Honda and still working on his original makeshift desk, made of a door and some scrap wood. Though he probably wasn't planning for it, it's almost certainly a good thing that he didn't decide to buy a bunch of super yachts during this time, as his finances were about to take a massive hit when the dot-com bubble would eventually burst. At the height of the internet boom, Amazon stock was at $113. By the time the bubble burst in 2002, that same stock had dropped by a staggering 95% and was worth just $6. By that same year, Jeff's personal net worth had fallen to $1.5 billion, and if the stock price had continued to fall, it may well have been over for him and Amazon, as it was for so many of their competitors at the time. Other popular online shopping companies like Pets.com and Webvan went under, and for a while it was uncertain if Amazon would join them as another internet company that didn't survive the turn of the century. Jeff has a theory as to why Amazon made it through this tough time, despite coming close to the brink and letting go of 14% of their staff. He recalls that during the madness, regardless of the plummeting stock price, the service and internal affairs of Amazon as a company were only improving, and it was this that gave him hope that they would succeed. Luckily for him, it turns out he was right, and Amazon managed to weather the storm, with the stock price climbing back up to around $50 a share in 2004, just 2 years after it seemed that the end was near. Over the coming years, Jeff would continue to innovate with the company, diversifying their services in ways that no one could have imagined, considering the book-selling foundation that it had all begun with. Amazon Web Services was launched in 2002, which is today the most comprehensive and widely adopted cloud service in the world. In 2006, Amazon introduced the innovative Kindle, a tablet designed for reading books digitally, which is to this day the most successful line of e-readers ever made. Jeff's net worth continued to climb back up along with the success of his company, and in 2006 his personal fortune sat somewhere around the $8 billion mark. The billionaire had always had an interest in space, having been inspired by witnessing the moon landing as a child, and in the year 2000 he had established a spaceflight company named Blue Origin. Well, after years of quietly working in the background, his dreams of pioneering spacecraft were finally fulfilled, as Blue Origin launched its first vehicle in November of 2006. 15 years later, in 2021, the company would make headlines with the first crewed flight of its Shepard vehicle. which took Bezos himself along with 2 other passengers up to the edge of space. Over the 2010s, Jeff pushed for innovation and expansion at Amazon, always seeking to improve his company. And so the online retailer would continue to expand its range of services and products. Today, Amazon services and subsidiaries amount to more than 80 companies, including multiple streaming services and even a robotics firm. As a result of Amazon's relentless expansion, in the year 2018, Bezos was declared the world's wealthiest man, with a fortune that surpassed $160 billion. In doing so, he beat Microsoft founder Bill Gates for the top spot, who had held that position for 18 of the previous 24 years. However, it seems that no one can stay at the top forever, not even Bezos, as in 2021 he was replaced by Elon Musk, who still holds the title of the world's richest man to this day. But before you go shedding any tears, I wouldn't feel too bad, as Jeffrey does still hold the second spot on that list, with a current net worth of $177 billion. While he evidently has a great passion for running his company, the entrepreneur probably decided he wanted some time to relax and enjoy his hard-earned cash. So in 2021, he stepped down as the CEO of Amazon, and today, the 59-year-old enjoys the position of executive chairman at the company which he founded. He's still actively involved with Blue Origin and other side ventures, and in the year 2022, he donated over $400 million worth of stock to nonprofit organizations. The entrepreneur has had a long and varied career, full of twists that could have spelled the end, but instead of losing heart, Jeff has used them to learn and grow, always searching for the next challenge. Even working at McDonald's, the future billionaire businessman was absorbing knowledge, and who knows, maybe if he had never worked that production line, he would have never become the entrepreneur we know today.